Football predictions from the year 2020. This is 4 years ago now, so let's see if any of these came true. Mbappe won't win the Ballon d'Or till 2024. Now, I mean, if he has a good Euros, then I can't see why it shouldn't happen this year. Without Messi being there, then surely it's between him, Bellingham, maybe Rodri is an outsider shout. Barcelona will endure a steep decline after Messi leaves and will only win one UCL in the entire decade. I can't see them winning one at all. 4 years into the decade. I mean, they're in the quarters this year, so Sunderland will establish themselves as a Premier League club by 2027. I mean, they're not doing too bad. They're on the rise again, but can they get Prem? There's a few teams above in the pecking order, but they've got enough time, 3 more years. An African nation will make it to the semi-finals of the World Cup.
Are you kidding me?
Morocco, that is spot on. Wolves will win the Premier League. Mbappe v someone we haven't heard of yet will be the new Messi and Ronaldo. You could say Mbappe v Haaland, I would say. I think that's pretty accurate. People always judged how Felix to be that person to compete with Mbappe, but this person was pretty accurate in saying that someone we haven't heard of yet. Defensive mids are going to be trained as centre-backs. This guy was onto something. John Stones' inverted centre-back position is also a variant of what he's trying to say here, so pretty spot on. Fitness is going to be prioritised more, as with Liverpool and Atletico Madrid. Yet, again, with that Klopp-Geiger press kind of vibes, he's brought the standard of fitness up in football. I mean, literally with Galadog in the number 10 position for Chelsea, it just proves that how important that position is, especially in the Premier League. Two-footedness is going to pretty much be the standard. Technical ability rising, I guess he's trying to say, and yes, it definitely is. Teams revert to a 2-striker formation. This is an interesting one. I would say this is probably the opposite of what's happening. The second striker position, that box crashing 8.5, you know, like a Kai Havertz who would have been a second striker in the past is now like a coming into the box late because you have to flood the midfield, and so he's having to do the job as a midfielder as well as a striker, which I guess is the opposite of the centre-back coming in. It just means we're flooding the midfield, thanks to Pep Guardiola. Premier League will have a big 8. Yes, that's totally true. I mean, this season it's almost like a big 10. The whole top side of the Premier League is everyone can beat everyone. I mean, anyone can beat anyone anyway. The best player of the decade has not been heard of at this moment. In 2020, they didn't know who Cole Palmer was, so it's true. It's true. No, at that point, best player of the decade hadn't been heard of. I mean, Mbappe had been heard of. Chelsea will win the Premier League at least 3 times in the next decade. I mean, maybe 27, 28, 29, with all the players that will finally be of age. Madrid will win 8 of the upcoming 10 La Ligas, commanded by Mbappe and a new French wonder kid at centre-back. You heard it here first. If Mbappe goes to Madrid and maybe Saliba joins him, you heard it here first. Smegboy 69. World War III means that only 4 seasons are played in the 2020s. Well, the way Russia are going, we're not far off, so yeah. Those 3 seasons that Chelsea will finally come good are going to get called off because of the war. Unai Emery will win the Champions League. Aston Villa are looking on track to get to the Champions League next season, so are we going to see a dark horse next season? Klopp leaves in 2022 on mutual consent after an injury-plagued season with lethargic, terrible, burnt-out players.
And after that, a normal season follows, plus a World Cup just in the middle of it.
This happened in 2022, actually, but he cracked on, he bought some new players, but he's leaving at the end of this season. And this guy goes on to say Gerrard takes over and is given 2 to 3 years where he snapped his top 4 spot at the best. Major law changes for player safety are finally enacted. Head injuries, I guess. I just want Scotland to qualify for a major tournament again. 1998 was a long time ago. They qualified for Euro 2020, but maybe this was just before. Maybe they were in qualification at that point. So they did qualify, and they've qualified again. So welcome to the club, Scotland. Newcastle qualify for Europe after Mike Ashley croaks. I mean, this guy was spot on. Literally, the season after Mike Ashley sells Newcastle, they get investment, invest heavily, and they got Champions League this season. They've had a lot of injuries, but this is one of the Newcastle shouts that actually was correct. Winning the league? Probably not, lads. Chelsea will dominate the Premier League for years to come with all the current crop of young players. In 2020, we thought all those Cobham graduates were going to dominate the world, and they did. They won the Champions League the next year, but no one saw what Putin was going to do by starting that war. Odegaard then goes on to win the Ballon d'Or. Now, in 2020, Odegaard wasn't the name he is now for Arsenal. But yeah, Odegaard to win the Ballon d'Or sometime this decade. It could come, depending on how his Arsenal season goes. Messi's retirement will affect Barcelona for maybe 1 year max, but then they'll go back to their usual self. At this point, they didn't know Messi was actually going to leave Barcelona for PSG. So yes, it did affect them for a bit. They won the league last year, so they're a bit up and down. Seesaw. The game will be more physical, and another world-class talent will come up in the EPL from the academy. Cole Palmer. English players playing abroad will become a fairly regular occurrence. I've always wanted this, and it is becoming a fairly regular occurrence. Obviously, Sancho went, came back, and went again. Tammy Abraham's over there with Smalling. Obviously the biggest name out there, Jude Bellingham, who was at Dortmund and is now in Madrid. And I'd say it's the best thing that's happened, because imagine Bellingham came to Liverpool. He just wouldn't be the player he is. So I love the fact English players spread their wings and get abroad. Amazon and Facebook will take over the Premier League rights. I can't say that's too far-fetched of a shout, to be honest, because something like that is coming. Like Amazon do their Christmas deals where